Hi, I'm Kelly, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet a mug rug, or you might just call it a coaster. Here's an example of one that I've made in just single crochet. Got some little tassels, and the best part about the tassels is there's no ends to weave in, so it's an A+ in my book. This is a good stash buster project. You don't have to necessarily go out and buy new yarn unless you just want to. You can use up all your little scraps. This is my big bag of scraps. Generally, my rule of thumb is if it's big enough to make one stripe in a hat, then I keep it because there are always projects like this that you're going to use it for. Just a couple tips on picking your yarn. I would generally say that you want to pick yarn that's about the same weight or thickness and texture. For example, I have some super bulky blanket yarn here and some very thin sock yarn here. The two of these together probably are not going to make the best item. You might want to try it just for mix it up a little, but for a nice flat texture that your mug will sit well on, I would stick with all about the same weight and texture of yarn. So I've chosen up here a little handful of different yarns that are in, I think that the colors will look good together. They're all about the same weight and thickness. And so let's move you in on my hands and I'll show you how to make the mug rug. Okay, so here we are ready to make our mug rug. Here you can see mine in action. I didn't fill it up just in case I spilled, but this one is about 5 inches by 4 inches, maybe closer to 6 by 4. And so if you wanted to measure, you can, but it's not necessary. That's a great part of this project. There's no measuring, there's no ends to weave in. You just start crocheting, which is a real win as far as I'm concerned. And I do have some videos that show in a little more detail how to make a slip knot, a starting chain, and a single crochet. So I'll go a little bit faster today, but if you need a review on those, you can go back and see my other videos. So we'll just get started by making our beginning chain. Make sure and make it nice and loose. And you can measure it if you want, but we can just eyeball it here today. You can see maybe a few more stitches until it's the width I want. That should be pretty good. So then we'll turn over our chain, and we're just going to do all single crochets today. So we'll work into the back loop and create each of the single crochet stitches across. I am terrible at being random. I tried really hard to be random on this mug rug that I made as an example. I'm hoping I can replicate that in the one I'm demonstrating for you. But a tip that I have used in the past is if you just completely fail at being random, for something like this, you can just get a die and roll that, and however many numbers comes up on the dice is the number of rows that you make. And I think that's a really great way to make things truly random. Because I know if I try it myself, I end up halfway through and I realize I've made a pattern of some sort. So here we are at our last stitch. It's a little shorter than my other one, but it doesn't really matter. So we're going to chain 1, turn, and do single crochet on back across. You don't have to do single crochet, obviously. You can go in your stitch dictionary and find a new stitch that you want to learn. And that's the great part about a small project like this. You really get to try out the stitch and see if it's the right one for you. Maybe for a bigger project. Maybe you'll decide that that stitch looks great, but you hate making it. You can mix up stitches. We could do single crochets for the first couple rows and then add a decorative stitch across the middle. There's no wrong way to do some project like this, and that's a really great thing, I think. So here we are at the last stitch. I'm going to leave it with 2 loops on the hook and not finish that stitch because we're going to change colors. So I'm going to take my scissors and cut with a few inches on the end. And the great part is we won't have to weave in this end because later it's going to become part of the tassels. So for now, I'll just go ahead and choose the next yarn I want to use. I'll weave a tail of, it's hard to do this looking through the camera, leave a tail of a few inches, put that onto the hook, kind of hold it between my fingers to keep it taut. Pull it through these 2 loops, let go of the ends, do your regular tensioning, chain 1. Doesn't matter that this space is all stretched out yet. Just go ahead and put your single crochet in there, and then take your 2 ends, give them a tug, and that'll tighten them up. And then we're just going to leave them right here for our tassels. Since we're going to use the ends of the yarn as your tassels, but we'll also add in some additional tassels, so you might want to consider staggering your rows so that some of your ends come out on one side and some of them come out on the other, although it's not strictly necessary. It will just save you from, well, I guess it won't really save you anything. It'll just make it more even when you go in to add your tassels. So this time we're not going to color change, so we'll just chain 1 and turn and go on back across. And let me pause the video, finish a few more rows, and then I'll check in with you about halfway done. So just a quick check-in. I'm about, I'd say 2/3 of the way done, and you can see I've got tassels hanging off of each end here. I can try it against my mug and I can see that it's not quite big enough. I don't want to have to put my mug down with that type of precision. So we'll just make a couple more rows and we'll just continue on with a single crochet. I realized after looking at my yarn choices today, I must be feeling very girly. I've got some purples and lavenders and pinks. But you could do this in your home decor colors. A lot of us have a home office that's been a bit improvised right now. This would be a good way to cheer up your little corner of your home office. Let's do one more color change. I'm just going to snip that with a couple inches on the end. Let's go back to the gray. I wanted to put this lavender on, but then I realized I'd be making a pattern with the lavender on each end, and I'm trying so hard to be random. Get that end out of the way. So let me do just a couple more rows and we will work on the fringe, which I've realized I've been calling tassels all along, but I think that fringe is probably a more accurate term for what we'll be making here. So I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I finished up my mug rug, and something to know about single crochet, it will often, as you're working with it, start to curl up in the corners. That's something that will relax over time. So if it starts to curl up as you're working with it, don't feel like you've done something wrong. And I'm down to my last stitch, so I'm just going to snip and then take my hook and pull that one on through. So now we're ready to add the fringe. On my first mug rug, I added fringe in all the colors that I've used. But I think for this one, just to give it a different kind of look, I'm going to use mostly one color. But you can use all random colors. You could tuck in these ends, weave in these ends, and have it all one color. You can do it however you like. When I cut fringe, I like to have something to wrap it around so that all of my pieces are about the same. And I decided earlier that just wrapping it around my hand was actually a pretty good, it's hard to do it on camera, but it was a pretty good length for this. A lot of times for scarves or something, I'll use a DVD case. So I'm going to make a lot of this lavender and just let there be a few little extra pieces in the other colors just to try it out. So after I've wrapped all that, I'm going to just cut all these pieces on one end. And I've got all these pieces, this little one, but they are all about the same size. And to attach fringe, you take your hook and insert it through the end of one of the rows. Loop it onto your hook with both ends approximately even. Pull it, whoops. This is actually very easy. It's just hard to get a good camera angle at the same time I'm doing it. Pull it through just a little bit, and then take those two ends, wrap your yarn over, and pull it through, and then pull it tight. Let's do another one. I promise it's easy. I'm going to put this on a different color and make it a little more obvious. Insert your hook through the end of the row. Take your piece of fringe, catch it with the hook and pull it through slightly. Then take the two short ends, pull it through that loop you've just made, and then pull it tight. It's actually a little easier to do with a longer fringe because you've got more room to maneuver. But I'm going to continue pulling these through. And I can see on this one it got a little loose because there was a color change there. I can pull this tight to fix that. And if I feel like that end is coming loose often, I could weave in the end. I could probably even tie a small knot here, and it would look quite similar to this little slip knot holding the yarn on. So I'm going to go through and add on some more tassels, some more fringe, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so we're just about done adding the fringe, but I just wanted to show you that if you like more thicker fringe, you can hold two pieces together. Oops, I missed one of them. You can hold two pieces together. And like I said, sometimes fringe is easier with longer pieces just because there's more you can hold in your hand. But I'll just pull two through there and pull all four ends through and tighten that up. And I also wanted to show you this last piece where we pulled it through, kind of wants to stick up and over instead of laying down well here with the others. I'm just going to take my hook, put it through a stitch, and pull it down this way so it behaves. So now we just want to smooth out all of our trim. I did end up adding a few white pieces, but I really like the way it looks with almost all lavender with just the few little bits from the other colors. So we'll just trim off our fringe so that it's all about the same length. And you can block this if you like. I have acrylic yarn, so you could block it by washing it. You could get it wet and pin it into shape. You could use a steamer on it to get it if you don't like that these edges are laying up slightly. But again, with time and the more you set your mug on it, that's going to disappear and you won't notice it at all. So here is the finished mug rug. A nice stash buster project that only takes a few minutes. No weaving in ends, no counting stitches, and I hope you've enjoyed this video.